Peace and welcome to the culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. First and foremost, let's have some honorable mentions. I'm going to just name a few of the Black women across this country who won big on Tuesday's election that we may not have been talking about. So we got to give them a shout out and what we can expect moving forward. Also, the unfortunate killing of the University of Virginia football players, 3 young Black men, 3 promising futures. And we'll talk a little bit about the impact that it's making on the UVA community. We'll have that conversation. And then later, let's talk a little bit about how the government needs to pass a bill to make sure that local journalism is not taken advantage of by big tech. We'll have that conversation as well, and a whole lot more. So stay with us. And I got something for Trends Post and Doing the Most. So stay with us, folks. We got a lot to get to right here on today's edition of The Culture, right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversations today. Very excited about what we're going to be talking about. And I'm super excited because we're joined, as always, on Tuesdays. In a few moments, we'll hear from Culture crew member. She's an activist and entrepreneur doing some great work. Iman Heath is joining us in a moment. But we've got to talk about a number of things, including the honorable mention and how Black women actually made history on Tuesday's election day. Yeah, we may not have known that. But these are some wins for Black women in the midterm elections that might have gone under the radar. And I will say, as one who is in the media, it did. It did. Now, before we jump into conversation, make sure you let your friends and family know that we are streaming right now live on blackstarnetwork.com. Make sure you go to our website. And while you're there, show your support and continue to support us financially. And of course, support us by sharing the content and making sure you get notified as we are doing our part to keep you informed. So go to Black Star Network right now, or you can check us out as we're streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. And folks, y'all know what I'm about to say. Big shout out to my online culture crew. We're getting ready to jump on in. So I'm very, very excited to hear what y'all got to say this afternoon as we have these conversations. But first, let's bring in our culture crew member, Iman Heath, who is an activist. She's an entrepreneur and just an all-around dope Black woman. Iman, thank you so much, as always, for joining us. How are you feeling?
I'm good. Can't complain. Hope I don't get sick. I know you over there enjoying the sunshine.
Hey, yo.
And the lovely weather.
Hey, yo, you know how cold? It's actually pretty chilly. Like, I don't, this thing, like California, LA is like 60 degrees. It's 60 degrees in LA. It's like, remember, wait, hold on. 60 degrees in LA is like folks bringing out their triple fat goose. You remember that coat, triple fat goose? With the fur around the collar and stuff. I see people walking around LA like that, like right now, like, yo, it's cold, B. You're like, wait a minute, hold up. Are we in LA?
It was
you got me
degrees on Sunday, and it's 40 degrees today. It's only Tuesday. Yeah, it's
Let me tell you how hard it is in Los Angeles. It was 60 degrees yesterday, and then it went down to 59.
I'm not going to say what my heart wants to say, but I'm going to just say, I hope you're enjoying your weather there.
I'm saying it's still chilly. We were around a lot of water. How about that? That wind gets on that water, starts blowing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Chesapeake Bay is down the street a little bit. Yeah, the body of water. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, let's go into it. Let's talk about something that you're passionate about: Black women in power and Black women making history. Woo! There are some honorable mentions of the fact that we had a number of sisters who are continuing to just break through the glass ceiling and doing their part. All right, so a couple of pictures, and if we can get some pictures up, or But also just to shout out these sisters. One of them her name is Summer Lee. She cracked the glass ceiling in Pennsylvania after winning. This sister here, Summer Lee, she won the U.S. House race in the state's 12th congressional district. Summer Lee, when she's sworn in the upcoming January, she will actually be the first Black woman to go to Congress from Pennsylvania. Now that's going to be major. So if you're in Pennsylvania, if you're in the 12th congressional district, this is your representative. And when she's going to be sworn in, she's going to be connecting to newly elected progressive Democrats who actually attended like a freshman orientation on Capitol Hill, and she's then going to be sitting alongside of colleagues like Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or AOC, Ayanna Pressley, Cori Bush, and Ilhan Omar. So this sister made some history. We didn't talk about her, but I just like, okay, let's make some history. So
before we even get into her, I want to get into some more numbers that we may not have known because I didn't know.
Okay.
So out of these women, at least 134 African American women were running for major party candidates. 134. That is a new record as of October 24th. That was for the U.S. House. 105 Democrats, 29 Republican. We had 22 Black women run for a seat for U.S. Senate. 16 women were Democrat, 6 Republican, and 12 governors. These are all new records as of October 24th, 2022.
Are you serious? And these are all Black women?
All Black women. 134 of us were on the ballot for these major offices. Yep.
Come on, yo. Come on, yo.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, yo. Come on.
Like
Come through.
Mm-hmm.
Come through.
It's what we do, Farajii. It's what we do.
Wakanda forever.
Period.
No, that's dope. No, seriously. And why do you think, Iman, that really wasn't talked about?
Well, it's not. Black women aren't outside of our community aren't really celebrated that much, especially with the Republican Party, and I do believe they had a big impact. The bickering back and forth, the anti this and anti that commercials that were coming out against some of these women. Some of the commercials were, in my opinion, racist and sexist. Especially the young lady Allison Sykes. She had a lot of pushback as far as what she was running for. So I'm not too surprised.
So and see, that's the interesting part. And yesterday I was having a conversation, and one of the elements that came up was that, the Democratic Party has a messaging problem. We've been saying that for a long time, but we don't, pretty much the criticism was the party doesn't celebrate its wins, right? Enough to put it out there to the American people to show that they're moving a little bit further along than the Republicans, right? Which I agree with, because a situation like this, where you had that many Black women, just in particular, just that many Black women running for office, and not only are they running for office, the majority of them actually winning their offices is like something that's worthy of a celebration, something that I think that the Biden-Harris administration should have certainly really kind of played up on, especially, and I don't know, I'm not throwing shade at the vice president.
Say it, because I am. Say it. Go ahead and say it, Farajii. Go ahead and say it.
But as a Black woman, I would be tweeting it. I would be Instagramming it. I would be Facebooking it. You know what I'm saying? Like big shout out to these Black women. Big shout out to my sisters. I mean, I don't know, like something to acknowledge that you got this new class of Black political officials that are going to be taken down. I might be wrong, and I want to ask my culture crew, when we talk about Black women in political office and that many Black women winning in their elections, should it be celebrated? Should it be celebrated? It's like a missed opportunity, Mom. A missed opportunity.
I agree. And I'm sure if the Democratic Party were to at least acknowledge these, as some may say, small wins, because they weren't big names that we already have known. But if they at least acknowledge that, it would encourage, I think, minorities, especially Black women in particular, to vote even more. Hey, you may feel as though your voice isn't heard. Well, look what you did. Look at the history that you just helped create. Look at what glass ceiling you just helped break. So if those small wins, it still counts. It still matters. 134 Black women were on a ballot for this election alone. 134. Yeah. That is record breaking, even though it shouldn't be record breaking in 2022. It's like, damn, we should have been doing this, or at least some type of acknowledgement. But I'm just glad that I'm seeing Black women not being afraid to at least take that step, or at least run a campaign. It takes a lot to run a campaign.
Huge. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of stamina to stay on a trail for for a year and a half. You know what I mean? It's a lot.
Being Black and being a woman, you already down. You're already down to. So to see 134 women at least just take that effort, I'm here for it.
Let me tell you. I'm here for it all the way, and most importantly, there has to be a change in the narrative, because if Black folks, if Black women, or if the Democratic Party says, okay, we're gonna put out a little ad about the progress that we're making in creating a space for these young up and coming dynamic Black women, you're gonna have a different vibe. Because once the door is busted open by Black women, guess who's coming next? Latinos. Guess who's coming next? Native Americans. Guess who's coming next? Asian Americans. You know what I'm saying? Guess who's coming next? White women. Because now the door has been opened. Because we know that the struggle of Black women actually leads to the liberation of all women. Come on, yo. We starting off early with this.
Come on. I'm telling you,
the struggle of Black women opens the door for the liberation of all women.
Every time. Allison Sykes, she harped on reproductive issues. And I want to say Angela Campbell, I believe I'm saying it right. She's Massachusetts' first Black female attorney general. And what she's been working on for years is local policy making criminal justice reform. So we already have women pushing the issue that we have concerns with, but just because they aren't big names in the political world that we already know, it's not really something we rave about. But this is one hell of a good start.
Let me tell you something. It's like that Nipsey Hussle Jay-Z song. This is what it feels like. You know.
This is what it feels like, baby. This is what it feels like.
This is what it feels like. I mean, this is exactly what, when we talk about this, and here's the other thing about this, that why we wanted to mention it, and I was able to find some information around this topic, because I don't want our people to get into a space into thinking that Black women aren't busting up the door, blowing open the doors and breaking through the glass ceiling. Because when we have conversations amongst ourselves in the barbershops, at home, in church, at work, and all of these different places, and people are like, well, I don't see enough Black women. Like, you do. There are Black women that are advancing and pushing the agenda forward. You talked about our sister Andrea Campbell, the first Black female attorney for the state of Massachusetts, man. That's huge. That's huge. Boston has been, first, they have a huge police force up in Boston. Second, the state of Massachusetts can be deemed to be very conservative. And I mean, you just putting, again, here's a Black woman. She's going to be at the statewide office. She served on the Boston City Council for 6 years. She's only 40, and she's the 4th Black woman to ever serve as a state attorney general. So she's 40. That means she's been already raised in this culture.
She's not out the mix.
She's not out the mix. She knows exactly what's going on with young people, with people that are experiencing homelessness. She knows exactly what's in the mix of, you know, of corporate dealings and all that. She's right there in the middle at 40, y'all. And she's the state's attorney at 40 years old for a major state of Massachusetts. Okay, let's talk about how California voters elected Malia Cohen as the state's new comptroller, which is a position that oversees the world's fourth largest economy. There's the system. Before she got that victory, she serves as the state's top tax officials. How you said, well, what's the controller of the state? She's the one who writes the checks on behalf of the state. She's signing the checks for the state of California. Y'all feel me? I mean, this thing is huge. For the whole state, she's signing the checks. She's determining how to keep the money flowing. See, now here's the other thing. I'm gonna say this too, Mom. We gotta put this out there because I want to put out good vibes and good energy. We have to make sure that every one of them sisters don't get caught up in some political madness, right? Where they get removed from their position. They get embarrassed. They get caught up in some, you know what I mean? We know the stories, the political controversies that can come. You got to make sure that if you're sending somebody to office, you got to send them with something in the handbag, right? Because they're gonna be around a lot of money, and you got to send them with some good energy, good vibes. Hopefully, they meet the moral criteria to know what the difference between right and wrong, so that way they don't get caught up.
Right, and they still have to be held accountable. Just because they're
black, got to be held accountable. And let them know, like, look, we love you, we support you, but we will fire your ass.
Yeah.
We will remove you from office, but we love you, sis. Right. We will take your job, but we love you. We got you. But I'm serious, like, because with this wave of Black women coming into political office and just being in these influential spaces, not only are they gifts, but they also are targets.
Very true.
So it's a gift.
Being a lot of their first round being in these positions, they're vulnerable. It is one hell of a target.
You got a huge X on your back. Again, especially if you are a young Black woman, say in your 30s, say in your 40s, right? You're a young Black woman. This is your first go, right, in political office. You came out on a campaign blowing the doors off with some progressive ideas of how you want to change that office, the vision that you got for that office and for the people, all of those things. Now you around people who've been doing this for a long time, who've been getting away with a lot of stuff for a long time. I mean, you jumped out of the pan and into the fire now, baby. You know what I'm saying? And so we gotta figure out, and this is something that I think that there needs to be more discussion on is how do you protect those who get into office? Because we often don't have those conversations. I don't think that we have those conversations about protecting our elected officials from the forces that we know that are present, from the forces that have hemmed up so many other Black political officials, from the forces of those elected officials from themselves.
Drops mic. Because we've seen it personally. Just locally, we've seen it happen too many times.
I'm from Baltimore. I've seen brilliant Black women getting taken down over the smallest things, some of them the most justified things, but I've seen it. And let me tell you, let me just say this, and then, I'm gonna go to the crew. It's nothing more disparaging than to see Black women getting hemmed up, getting involved in some controversy, and then they get embarrassed on national TV. That's just disparaging. I'm gonna be honest with you. You see them crying.
And for Black women, that smudge on your resume, it never goes away. For men, and I'm gonna say just men in general, that one little hiccup, that one little mistake, it can get swept under the rug. But for some women, some reason, when it comes to women and especially Black women, that little smudge, that little crumb, is no matter how long your history is, it's never gonna go away ever. It will always be brought up or exploited, always.
I mean, that's the and that's the thing. That's the thing. Let's go to get a couple of quick comments from our online culture crew, because folks are checking in, loving these honorable mentions that we have. Folks, there have been a number, and you heard Iman talk about this, a number of Black women across the country who have been on ballots last week, and a good number of them are in very high influential, high profile positions. What's your take on this as we talk to you? Pauline, you kicking us off this afternoon. You say, don't look for the mainstream media to talk about it. No. See, here's the narrative, and I'm so happy you said this, Pauline, because the narrative of Stacey Adams, Stacey, the narrative around Sherry Beasley, the narrative around Val Demings, Stacey Abrams, excuse me. These narratives, as much as we would like to hope and believe that they don't define us, when you constantly say this woman who is qualified, who is brilliant, just didn't make the cut of being an elected official, and you driving this narrative home, right? We constantly, like over the past week since the election, everybody's been like, oh, Stacey Abrams, as much as powerful, as influential, and all of these things, she couldn't pull it through, but her legacy is beyond public office. It's still a hit. You see what I'm saying? Because she's one of our best and our brightest. Val Demings, Sherry Beasley.
This is the second time.
This is the second time. So we driving this narrative home. We're not having conversations and say, okay, so Stacey Abrams didn't make it, but Emily Sykes made it. We're not having a conversation say Andrea Campbell made it. We're not having a conversation say Summer Lee made it, in the sense that we got one loss, but you got some other very influential wins. So we and I'm saying, and me included, we got to check ourselves first. So it's more like, making sure that the narrative out there doesn't disempower the next generation of young women, young Black women who may want to go into political office because they see a Stacey Abrams, they're like, damn, she did this, she did that, and she still couldn't win. I mean, we could be like, oh, her legacy is bigger than all of those other things, but it's like, but you couldn't pull it out in your home state.
Yeah, we're not chilling on that. Not at all.
We're not, right. So it still gets to, yes, she has a bigger role that she plays, obviously, but at the end of the day, she lost this election for the second time. And so those who may have hope in her, they're going to have to kind of readjust. So the point is that, we have to make sure that we're balancing that narrative with the narrative of other Black women, because I'm sure these other Black women say, yeah, she lost, but I won. Mm-hmm. What about the victory I made? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because any one of these sisters that we talked about could actually go into Congress or could take a higher position in the federal level. They may go into running for president. We don't know. We don't know. All right, let's go back. Pauline, I appreciate you for mentioning that. Janine, my sister, you said, LOL. Now, if we can just get the brothers to show up, we can take over the world. Yep.
Woo! Now, Farajii, I'm going to go ahead and say this.
Come on.
I know you probably were talking about just women, but you said how women come and bust the door open, and the next it'll be Native Americans, then the next will come and will be the Asian American. How about after Black women bust the door down, our Black men behind us?
And guess what? And guess what? I'm okay with that.
That's what we need. That's what
I'm
we
okay
need.
with that. You know what I'm saying? Like this is a marathon, baby. Like this is we working together. So if you bust open the door in this space, I'm gonna bust open the door in another space. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Exactly.
Sometimes, I mean, look, man, we've been talking about Woman King and Wakanda. Those women are blazing a trail for right, but some man is going to have to step up and be like, you know what? How many of us as men, how many of us credit our mother for being the men that we are?
Especially the
You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about the good elements of us, right? Your mother, you know, I know, gotta make sure you be clear. But many of men, if it wasn't for your mother or your grandmother, you couldn't be the man that you are. So I'm cool with that. I hope black men don't get in their bag and be like, man, you know, we should have did it first. I mean, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I get that.
Or a type of way because a woman is in a position of power that may be higher than yours at this moment.
That's all it is.
Even further. Help push her even a win for a black woman is a win for a black man, a win for a black man is a win for a black woman because you black first before anything. Before your sex is even involved. You black first. You can change your sex. You can be whatever flavor of human you want to be. But you gotta be black. Like you don't have no choice.
Absolutely.
You gotta be black.
Absolutely. Kiki, you said this is what it feels like. If you vote, please keep voting like your life depends on it. Absolutely. Absolutely. You're right, Kiki. Brother Damon, you said every victory and accomplishment should be celebrated. Absolutely. A win is a win.
No matter what level.
No matter what level, whether it comes from a man or from a woman, or hell, or a child. A win is a win. You're right. Rashida, you say, yes, it should be celebrated. The power of the black woman. Come on, man. Absolutely. Rashida got a lot of like emojis in hers. She got bottles popping. Rashida got, she's throwing a party over there. Big shout out to Rashida. Thank you, sis. So Bing, you said it should be celebrated. However, we know doing so puts a target on our people's backs. Sometimes we need to move in silence while we build from the inside out. White fear is real. Well, I agree with that. I agree with that. But I don't want to diminish, and I'm saying for the sake of those women who put in that work to get to that position, they need to be celebrated loud and clear. Now, it's much easier to be celebrated and then have the target on your back because you don't know where your support can come from.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Versus being in the darkness, being in the shadows, and you still gonna have a target on your back, right? But nobody knows that you got a target on your back. So sometimes just being out front actually protects you in some cases rather than being behind the sycamore tree, being in the shadows of something. You know what I'm saying? So this is the art of war. This is politics, right? So yeah, because now if you come out there, as these sisters come out there, they come out there with their ideas, their progressive, their ideas about anything. And somebody tries, oh, you shouldn't be doing that and trying to criticize them and beat them up. Guess what? Now you got the whole country looking at that situation. And we can gain allies. Black men can step up. I mean, it's a host of things that could potentially happen to help to boost that sister in that space. Karen, you checked in. Top black elected officials should announce all newly elected black female officials. Recognition is warranted. It is a disservice to not give recognition. I feel you. If the top black elected officials don't announce it, that's a great idea, actually, Iman. You know, what's your take on that? If we saw more black elected officials kind of say like a roll call, maybe after the election, like this, around this time, like a week after the election, now that, you know, as elections, the votes have been counted and everything, maybe the NAACP or Urban League or some black political organization comes out into the front. We want to thank the voters for voting for and going down the road. That sounds like a dope idea.
Agreed. Hit the blessed.
You know what I'm saying? Or put it on a website or something.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? Put it out there. It's probably, you know, you throw it on social media. If you throw on social media the list of black women who are in powerful positions after this election, and I don't know how many what the number would be. I bet you that tweet go viral.
Yeah, I'm gonna say put it on Twitter.
Put it on Twitter. Put at everybody, and then I bet you that thing go right viral. And then you know what I'm saying. That whole situation is celebrated. So that's a great idea. Let's go to who we got. America Jonesy. Men in power are working with us and address us by name, not baby. Yeah, that's true. I hope I ain't offended. Somebody say? Did I say baby? I made it.
No, I think she's saying that the men that are in power, they don't treat them in a way, and they address them as baby or something affectionate, possibly. That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, yeah. You gotta be careful nowadays.
Yeah.
You don't want to diminish. Yeah. I agree with that, American Joe. I don't want to misunderstand the point that you made. So you're absolutely correct. Karen, you also said the Secretary of State for California is Shirley Webster, who is Black. Did she get elected? Karen, let me know. She got elected in this cycle. But that's dope. That's dope. Black California, boy, y'all don't be sleeping on California right now.
They know some things.
we out here. DB Smith, you said we have to look at the big picture. Maybe Stacey Abrams did not win. She motivated so many others because of her work. Absolutely.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Agreed. I'm sure she encouraged a lot of young Black women to go ahead and get their idea out there and really push for a campaign, whatever it may be. There's no reason not to.
Yeah, absolutely. Janae, you said yes, didn't want to rub it in, but Black women will save the world. April Ryan's book and Wakanda Forever.
I'm gonna go ahead and say this for Roger. I'm sure that you know, but the nation says, no matter what you may believe in, the world or the man or nation goes no higher than its woman. I believe. Did I say that right?
Yep, a nation can rise no higher than its woman.
That's all I'm saying.
That's all I'm gonna say too.
You're right. FOI and NOY brothers. Like, you know, I love y'all.
Ruben, you checked it and said the work of Stacey Abrams still has to prevail and has to go on. We cannot let it die. The light of truth she was bringing to us still has to shine. We need our Black champions. Absolutely. And when I was making a point about Stacey Abrams is that, no, she may have a place bigger than politics, but I don't want us to get so we just rooted in on her loss in an election. Right. And then we use that and we continue to drive home. She lost, and not recognizing the wins of other women. But you're absolutely right. Willie NC, you say Black women are needed in both houses of the government, all sectors, because Black women are the moral compass of the globe. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Let me just add to that, though. You got to be a Black woman of substance, though. You got to be a Black woman of knowledge and you got to be a Black woman that's going to bring something to the conversation, right? And I'm just saying that. And I'm saying that for the sake of this discussion. Same thing goes for the man, though. You can't be in public office and not be a person of substance, not have a view, not just go along to get along, not just looking for you to get your follows up or something. You know what I mean? Like this is real life, folks. This is real life. So if you're in public office or if you have desires to be in public office, you have to check your own motivation. You got to check your own self to be in that space, because once you get there, you're going to be tested. And I ain't talking about by the people. I'm talking about you're going to be tested by your shortcomings. You're going to be tested by the forces around you. You're going to be tested. So you have to be rooted in something. You got to be rooted. And that's why I think, Iman, just very quickly, that's why I think that when we talk about politics, if you notice, a lot of politicians are married, they got families. There's a sense of rootedness to them, because if you're not rooted in something, whether you're not rooted in your family or something, in your faith, something, then you could just be gone with the wind. You know what I mean? Something comes along and poof, take you right out.
Yep.
So you got to get rooted.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So big shout out to all of our sisters. So also as part of the honorable mentions, let me just share with you very quickly the other Black women who won. Representatives Ayanna Pressley out of Massachusetts. We've heard about our sister. She won re-election. Lisa Blunt, Rochester and Delaware. Johanna Hayes in Connecticut. Lauren Underwood in Illinois. Congresswoman Lucy McBath. She faced redistricting challenges in her Georgia district, but ultimately decided to run and eventually win in a different district. So you got women all over the place who are moving and shaking. So big shout out to all of our sisters. And, you know, this is our honorable mention of the value and the importance of having Black women in political office. But y'all, if you know Black women in your respective city, state, district, county, wherever you are, and they just got elected, show them some love. Show them some love. Say, you know, welcome, congratulations. We appreciate you, sis. We're going to support you, and let them know that they got support, man, because they're going to need it. They're going to need it, especially in this highly charged political space, Iman. And I see a political future for you. You starting off as an entrepreneur and an activist.
Ooh, who said that?
I see it. You know, look. We've had many conversations. You like, and I either you gonna go one of two ways. Either you gonna go into law school, you going in that direction, or you gonna go into public service, and you're gonna be a force to be reckoned with. Real talk, you're gonna be a force to be reckoned with. And I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna put you on the campaign. Hey, we're gonna have to support Iman, y'all. She's gonna start in Baltimore and then end up somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Like for real.
It's gonna be nationwide.
I'm telling you, like. I really want you to think about that. If that's something that you think about it, because we need you.
Yeah.
We need you.
I agree.
And you can bring that fire. I could just see you because you're from West Baltimore. They'll ask you a question. They'll ask you a question at the press conference. Well, why did you do this, Miss Heath? Because it was the right thing to do. And I felt like it needed to be done. Next question.
That's simple. Moving on. Yeah. I'm just glad you know right now. We're not giving no cookie cutter answers. Ain't no sugar or nothing. I'm saying what need to be said, how it need to be said, no matter how people feel about it. It's Farajii. It's coming. I promise. It is in the making. This is just step one.
I get it. I totally get it. All right, look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk a little bit about this situation of the killing of the UVA football players. And the unfortunate tragedy of the situation and the impact it's making on the community. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Are we going to take a break? Let's take a quick break. And then we'll read.
Pull up a chair, take your seat at the Black Table with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shootings.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
There's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. We're going to continue our conversation, checking in with Culture crew member. She is an activist and entrepreneur, Iman Heath. And Iman, I wanted to take just at least a few minutes to talk about the situation out of the University of Virginia, where we saw the killing of those 3 black football players just a few days, was it a day or so ago?
Yeah.
And I've been seeing it, on my end, when I first heard about the killing of our brothers, at first I was like, okay, let me wait until we get some more details about the situation before we bring it to the forefront. Then we learned that these young men, 3 apparently very dynamic young black men who lost their lives in this very, very unfortunate shooting. They, man, I can't say enough about them. 22-year-old, there was a 22-year-old University of Virginia student who was suspected of killing these 3 men, these 3 young brothers. Christopher Darnell Jones, who was a former football player, he's facing 3 counts of second-degree murder and 3 counts of using a handgun in the commission of a felony, according to the UVA police chief, Mr. Tim Longo, who mentioned this Monday. Apparently, the victims had just returned from a school field trip on late Sunday night when they were gunned down near a school bus on the Charlottesville campus, according to the officials. And so I don't know the motive. They haven't determined what the motive is for these killings as of yet. If these young brothers who were shot and killed were targeted, or is it just like a random act of violence? But the cases, and if we could pull up the pictures of Devin Chandler, Deshaun Perry, and Lavelle Davis Jr. I want to pull up those pictures if we get a chance to, and just hear from folks about this, because this is very unfortunate. This is very, very unfortunate. What's your take on this, Iman?
It's a lot behind it. Suspect Christopher Jones, he had already had a pending case going on with a not housing, it's not called housing, hazing situation. It was already a pending case going on, and someone from that case, a witness, was saying that Jones told them that he had a gun, but this was prior to the shooting that just happened. That happened around September 15th, I believe. So he has already been convicted of a misdemeanor concealed weapons violation 2021. What's interesting about Virginia, January of 22 of this year, they just put in an amendment was offered and a reenactment was offered to require a criminal history be done before you can purchase a firearm. I'm not sure what Virginia's standard or policy is now or was prior to that, but it would make sense to me to look through a person's criminal history before they are able to purchase a firearm. But we keep circling back to this narrative of gun violence, and it doesn't make it any better that it was another Black man killing these other Black men who had such a life ahead of them. They had a lot more to go. From what it has been said so far, that it could have possibly been those three were actually targeted. It could be that he was upset that they were actually starters and were excellent athletes on the field, because when he got to the team in 2018, he didn't play at all. But he didn't play prior to an injury before he even got there. So it could be a jealousy thing. Maybe they were a part of his hazing. It's a lot of variables behind this. It's messy. This is not a clear situation at all.
Yeah, Willie Frazier, Willie, my guy, Willie said, I heard it was bullying for Farajii. He's checking in on as part of the online culture crew. Bullying could have been the case. Hazing, I'm reading reports about hazing as well, to your point, Iman. So I think it could be a number of things that we just haven't determined just yet. If it was any one of those things, it's going to be a hard pill to swallow. If it was, say, these three guys picking on Christopher Donnell Jones while they were all part of the same football team, that it could be a situation. Like, in this situation, there's everybody's life. Even though Christopher Donnell Jones is still alive, he wasn't shot and killed by police, but everybody's life is ruined. And the number of families that have been impacted by this, the team, the school community, you know what I mean? So they shut down classes today for the second day in a row, of course, obviously, because students were on campus. They did a candlelight vigil for the three football players, Devin Chandler, Deshaun Perry, and Lavelle. So it's and two others were actually shot as well.
Yes. One person is fine for now, and another is still in okay conditions, but still
Mike Collins, intubated, but in stable conditions. He's a junior, plays running back for the team. So they were also so it's something caused Christopher Donnell Jones to snap the way he did, to the point where he wanted to take somebody's life. And that's going to be the sad part. That's going to be the determining factor. Let me go to some of our comments around this. And then I'm gonna share something else with folks here. Nicole, you checked in, you said the father of the suspect was interviewed and said that he talked to him, and his son said that he was being picked on. So that's according to Christopher Donnell Jones's father.
Now it's before, just for me and Farajii, we're not saying if he was picked on, then it was okay for him to do that. We're not saying that. No. That's not what it. no matter the reason, it is not justified whatsoever. I just want to say, especially as Black men, in general, all of us, our mental health matters. But for some reason, Black men feel as though, mental health, they're okay, I'm strong, I'm supposed to be this guy or be this person for my family. It's okay if mentally you don't feel okay. It is okay to get a therapist or a friend to talk to that you trust to get out whatever it may be. Whether you are being bullied, no matter how old you are. I know coworkers who 40 plus who felt as though they were being bullied. It's okay to talk about it. It's fine. Because I'm sure all of us would rather you have your freedom and people still have their lives regardless of who it may be. But it's okay to talk. Please talk. Families are grieving on both ends because Jones, his life is ruined. He'll be in,
he's gonna be in prison.
He's gonna be in prison. If he is found guilty, he will be in prison. And these 3 young men who are excellent athletes, from what I was able to see, from the stats that I did read, that's it. That's over. And 3 families have to grieve. Like that's a lot. It's heavy. It's a lot. Even I'm dealing with it right now. So it's talk, please.
And look, take a look at this, Iman. Just check this. And I think I want to pull up some of the stats around this. This killing, according to the stats on from the Gun Violence Archive, the killings are among at least 68 shootings this year on U.S. school grounds, including 15 on college campuses. The incident also is amongst some 600 U.S. mass shootings this year, in which at least 4 people were shot, excluding a gunman. 600 mass shootings just in the year of 2022. Now, we don't cover 600 mass shootings on this show. I don't know any news station that covers 600 mass shootings. So people, they're saying 4 or more, excluding the gunman. So you mean to tell me people are just getting shot down wholesale? So the conversation often goes into a space of access to guns and mental health. I wonder if that's going to be the discussion, or is that going to be the narrative, because you got Black men that were the perpetrators and a Black man that was a perpetrator, and then Black men who were the victim. I wonder if the conversation is going to be about mental health. I wonder if the conversation is going to be about bullying. I wonder if the conversation is going to be about access to guns, or if the conversation is going to be about that Black men are violent predators.
It takes a lot to be a quote predator. Like you don't just wake up, you know what, I'm the big bad guy here. No, there are usually some things that get whomever to the point of being or labeled as a quote unquote predator. But in America, as we know, Black men, if they didn't want you or us to know of your power and who you truly are,
right,
you would be labeled as a predator. And that's one thing I want us to especially Black men, to remember who you truly are.
Right.
The Alpha and Omega of everything. But I'm stopped there. Let's go back.
Absolutely. Let's take one more comment on this. Sharon Gregory, you checked in and said there's going to be a lot more if we don't go back to teaching kids how to handle anger. That everybody is a winner theory is coming back to bite us.
The participation trophies are coming back to bite us. Agreed.
With Sharon, what you bringing up to your point, to that point too, Iman, absolutely. But here's the thing that I see a lot of Black men going through. Anger issues. It's like the story. I'm going to go back to the young man who shot the girl, the little 21-year-old sister, the 31-year-old man who shot her because he lost to this sister in a game of basketball. And his ego got so inflamed and he got so enraged, he wound up killing her. Same thing here. And I'm saying, look, if you ever been bullied, you know the impact of bullying that it has on your life, right? Especially if it's especially the older you get. So I can only imagine if you're in college and you go through some level of ridicule and bullying or some level of hazing and people making you feel less than, and that just plays on your psyche, and you're going to want to enact some level of revenge on the people that are responsible. But to Sharon's point, we got to teach Black men how to handle our anger, man. Like we and I don't want to play into the trope of the angry Black man, but some of us are really angry.
Very true.
Iman, some Black men are, it could be legitimate, it could be justified, it could be unjustified, but there are some Black men who are just angry.
Very true. And it all started, usually it all started at home with a relative or feeling less than, or not feeling as though you're being heard, being shunned out, being told, boys don't cry, shut up that noise, boys don't cry.
Right.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Right.
And then if he was playing football, I can imagine from being younger playing sports, your coaches, that tough love that they give you. It may not be something everybody can handle. Like
there it is. And we got to have a conversation about it. You know what I mean? There's got to be some different approaches on teaching and raising Black boys to be well-balanced Black men. You know what I'm saying? Like my son, I know the sensitivity of my son. I'm not going to be going off on a handle, yelling at him, man, stop crying like a little baby.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that stuff is killing us, man. I mean, seriously, that stuff is killing us.
MFers and
you know what I'm saying, dude? Oh man, you can't be this. Mm-hmm. And we cultivating this hardness of the heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a little boy can't care. A Black man can't care about, because his heart too damn hard. He don't care to the point where he like, F it, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna shoot this dude. Now again, we don't know all of the details, right? So we still that's still yet to be determined. But then let's talk about the perpetrators. If you bullying somebody, man, if you making somebody, come on, man, you're too old for this.
Right. And it seems as though it's where I'm seeing a lot of Black women, therapy, but I want more Black men who do go to therapy, may experience therapy. It may feel embarrassing at first because you may feel as though you're not as big or as much of a man because you need help to cope through certain problems. It's okay. It is okay. Your mental health is as important as your physical health. Just because you go to the gym and you don't skip leg day, your brain and your emotions are as important as that physique that you're working so hard on. That pre-workout that you go to the gym, do you have the same attention to making sure that you are mentally okay? We solve the problem, and Hennessy is not going to always solve the problem. It's okay to talk.
Come on. I got two quick comments, and then we're gonna wrap up this conversation. Janine, my sister, you said most Black children are not heard in the home. Sadly, most little boys are sensitive and they are slammed for it. They have to be taught how to handle emotions. Facts. Especially when you get to 9 and 10, Iman. I know you got nieces and nephews and cousins and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Them little boys, they want to, between that age range where they kind of want to still be babies, but then they still want to talk about being a man and all that stuff, handling their emotions. Absolutely. Yeah. Janine, I love that comment. Thank you, sis. And then my guy, you don't like my music. You bring it right home. You said we need to focus as much on emotional intelligence as well as IQ. Come on, man. Like if you don't know what emotional intelligence is, look it up. Because when I learned about that, it was like a light had went off in my head. It was like emotional intelligence. What is that? And understanding. And it's simply what's one of the big elements of emotional intelligence is to be in tuned and aware of how you're feeling at any given time. So it's just not like, well, how you feeling today? I'm good. I'm fine. I'm straight. Because you're not always feeling that. And see, when you deny your feelings, you verbally deny your feelings, it's going to respond in the body. So you're blocking. You're creating blockage in your own self when you deny your feelings.
Literally,
something hurts you.
Literally, it hurts your body. Spiritually,
it hurts the body.
Literally.
Because I mean, physically, I think the term they use is psychosomatic. Because physically, you can't, your body is saying, no, I'm not okay. But your brain is saying, yo, we okay. And then that puts your body in a state of conflict and dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
So your body is always telling you the truth, right? But then we lie by trying to dismiss the feelings of the body. And that's the problem. And you create conflict and you get angry, you get blockage, you don't feel rejuvenated. You know what I'm saying? Because you're constantly denying yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, man.
You couldn't have said it any better.
I'm telling you, this thing is so deep. So my heart and our hearts and prayers and condolences go out to all of the families that's been affected. I'm serious, man. And it's sad. And this might, and to me, Iman, this might not be a conversation. It's not going to be so easy. I mean, yes, Christopher Darnell Jones, he committed a cardinal sin. He took somebody's life. But somewhere along the line, I know somebody took something from him. And I don't know, I'm going to be honest with you. As a Black man, as a part of the Black community, I'm not sure how we handle that right now, but I think we just need some more conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like there's some more conversation. There are a lot of Christopher Darnell Jones Jr.'s out there that are ready to just hurt you.
Yeah. Where did we lose them? Where did we lose track?
Come on.
It wasn't when he pulled the trigger. It was
no. That's by the time you get to that point, it's too late.
Right.
This was brewing in this brother's mind way before then. And I'm not trying to just, I'm trying to be as careful as possible because those other brothers lost their lives. Christopher Darnell Jones has a chance, even in prison, to deal with whatever trauma and pain he dealt with. Those other brothers, they lost their lives. They can never deal with anything again. They're gone. Right. So we can't sugarcoat the fact that he took their life out of his ignorance and his pain and his trauma. They will never have a chance to say, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
If they did do something, once we find out the full story, but it's a tragic situation all around. It's just a tragedy, man. And my hearts and prayers and condolences go out to the victim's family. So we will certainly look at these brothers, man. Again, we don't know them. We don't know the full story. But I do know one thing, that if they were given the opportunity to redeem themselves or given the opportunity to apologize if they did something to Christopher Darnell Jones Jr., I'm sure they would take it instead of being in the place that they're in now. I'm sure, not a shadow of doubt. So we will keep everybody posted about this situation. Look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, we're going to switch gears. Let's talk about how there is an effort to stop local journalism from big tech, how Amazon, Google, and other platforms, other major tech companies may be taking advantage of local journalists, their story, their content for a very, very minimum price. We'll be checking in with Associate Professor Iram Sinwright to give us some insight into this. And then later on, can Meg Thee Stallion live? I'm going to talk to one of her hotties, i.e. Iman, to talk to us about how this hip-hop artist is continuing to blaze the trail and continuing to catch the heat as she is looking to get involved in another controversy, this time with her record label. So stay with us. Those conversations are up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second hour of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. We ask that you continue to support us here at Black Star Network as we're doing the great work of having conversations that are culturally relevant to where we are in this country. So make sure y'all go to our website at blackstarnetwork.com. Also, make sure you follow us on Black Star Network on all social media platforms, on IG, Twitter, Facebook, and make sure that we can know that a platform like this is so needed and important. And while you're there, you can check me out there on IG at The Real Farajii and on Twitter at Farajii. We want to continue to build, and I'm continuing to build up my community with you so we can continue to build a community outside of us. So a lot to talk about, a lot to get to. But now we're going to switch gears and have a conversation about something that is very, very important that we want to keep our eyes on as we move along, especially with how the House and the Senate is shaping up from this last week's midterm election. Folks, did you know that there is a bill that has to be considered and that has to be passed by Congress, according to some, for the to make sure that the content, local journalism content that we take in, that some of us may take in, the integrity of that content stays in place. And this is a bill called the Journalism Competition and Preservation Act. It was reported out of committee on September 22nd with strong bipartisan support, and it must now head to the floor for a vote. The JCPA would hold tech giants accountable and provide a necessary lifeline for local newspapers, requiring big tech such as platforms like Amazon and Google to compensate small and local outlets for the use of their content. Here to talk to us a little bit about this is the associate professor. He's also the head of the communications department at the American University. He is an author, a guy that watches how big tech moves and how big tech disseminates information. Professor Iram Sinwright. Professor, thank you for joining us. I know you're not feeling the best, but I appreciate you for taking a few moments to be with us this afternoon. How are you, sir?
Well, like you said, I'm a little under the weather, but it's always a pleasure to talk to you, so I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Professor, this came across my timeline, and I thought, we need to talk about this. We need to kind of have more conversation. And here's why. I want to put this first quote up on the screen. And folks, I want y'all to just think about this. Take a look at this. Big tech benefits tremendously from journalism content, yet they refuse to pay local publishers fairly for the journalistic content that fuels their platform. As a result, local papers are being replaced by tech platforms using black box algorithms designed to keep users inside their walled gardens, all while charging exorbitant ad feeds up to 70% of every advertising dollar. Since 2000, U.S. newspaper circulation has dropped by half, with more than 31 million fewer daily newspaper of U.S. counties with no regular newspaper. They're called news deserts, and they are in rural areas. Despite record audiences, revenue has drastically declined since news outlets transitioned to the digital platform space. Wow. So the local newspaper is essentially dying. People are relying more on tech, big tech, to provide them their news and that is relevant, quote unquote, on a digital space. And big tech is taking those stories, putting them on their platforms, and essentially not paying these local publishers. And this seems like, Professor, it puts us in a position where big tech may be determining or dictating what they deem to be the news that the people should hear.
Okay, so this is like a lot of the things that you asked me to come on and talk with you about. This is like a much more complex issue than it seems like on the surface. And,
yeah.
You know, as you well know, and as folks who have seen me on your show before know, I'm very critical of big tech. I think big tech is too big. I think it needs to be broken up. I think we need to use the powers of antitrust and a stronger regulatory hand to make sure that Facebook and Amazon and Google don't have the kind of power that they have. And I think local journalism is in a death spiral. But all that being said, I'm against this bill, and because I don't think it's going to solve the real problems, because it doesn't analyze the problems correctly. So let's.
But Professor, this is not. Is this about economics? Because this is like, you know, people are saying, well, they're not paying, like big tech is not paying local publishers. This is not about economics, though, right? Or is it?
Well, let's break it down. Let's look at what the problem is, and then let's look at what the proposed solution is. Okay, the problem is very real, which is that we've lost thousands and thousands of local news providers in America over the past 25 years. And as a result, the news is very consolidated. You get the same version of the news everywhere you look, and that version is usually one that supports the interests of giant corporations and doesn't particularly serve the public interest very well.
Okay, let's stop right there.
Yeah.
So if we're getting the same news information, I'm in California, you where you are, somebody else, we're getting the same news information. Why is that problematic?
Okay, so it's problematic because, for one thing, in a democracy, you need a variety of different voices representing a variety of different communities in order to be able to do investigative journalism, because different people have different sets of concerns, in order to provide a variety of different viewpoints on an issue, and in order to give people the ability to deliberate and decide what's best for the country and what they want, what kinds of laws and policies they want to govern the society that they live in. So nobody is arguing against the idea that you need a strong and vibrant local news infrastructure and a diversity of different voices in that infrastructure. What people are arguing about is what caused this die-off and what to do about it. So there are several things that are responsible for the die-off that have nothing to do with big tech, and some that do in a different way than this bill addresses. So number one, there was something called deregulation that happened back in the 1990s. It used to be that, for instance, no single company in the US was allowed to own more than 40 radio stations across the country. Well, in 1996, thanks to the Telecom Deregulation Act, they scaled that up to 1,600 stations. And so you saw companies like Clear Channel go on a buying spree and buy like 1,200, 1,300 radio stations across the country. And what do you think the first thing that they did was? Right? They laid off the local news teams in all of those different radio stations. And they basically had one person in a studio in Anaheim, California, doing the local news for Tucson, doing the local news for Amherst, doing the local news for Baltimore, all from that one studio, without ever being on the ground and actually doing the journalism that was required to serve that local community. So this is like 10 years before Facebook even became a thing. that this started to happen, right? At the same time, you begin to see these private equity firms essentially buying out all these networks of local news providers from their original owners, and doing the same thing that these larger media conglomerates did, which is just eviscerating the newsrooms, just firing the vast majority of working journalists. Again, this has everything to do with big corporate owners behind the stage putting together a bunch of local news organizations to be able to do national scale ad buys without having to pay actual journalists on the ground. None of this has anything to do with big tech or social media. All of that has to do with rapacious capitalist economics, basically like a lack of regulation preventing single owners from buying thousands and thousands of news organizations and firing everybody who worked inside of them in order to squeeze maximum profits out of them. Okay? Now, at the same time, and this fueled the massive buyout by the private equity firms. And if you're interested in this, my colleague at American University, Margot Suska, has done great work documenting all of this and has a great book that I've read some of already coming out on this subject. Her last name is Susca. Look her up. She's an amazing journalism researcher. So at the same time, I used to, you probably don't know this about me, but one of my very first jobs out of college in the mid-90s was working as a classified ad sales representative at an alternative weekly in my native New York City. And I will tell you, like, I sat there on the phone all day, every day, selling local ads to, everything from like music venues to massage parlors to restaurants and everything in between. And the internet really killed that. Again, not because of big tech and not because of social media, but because it was easier to place and buy and search ads on monster.com or on Craigslist and ultimately on like Facebook Marketplace than it was to place an ad in the local newspaper. And that was like 70% of our revenue at the local news weekly, which, by the way, no longer exists in New York City, not because of big tech, but because we couldn't sell classified ads anymore because the internet made it much easier for people to do that freely or even more cheaply. So there's a combination of different factors at work, both on the ownership side and on the bread and butter fueling local journalism side that have nothing to do with big tech. Okay. That being said, yes, it's a problem that Facebook and Twitter have these algorithms that privilege some news providers over others. I mean, if you look at like what the top news stories are, I'm putting that in big quotes, news stories are on Facebook in any given week, it's like all these crazy right-wing disinformation sites that like COVID vaccines have 5G type of stuff, like just ridiculous, like conspiracy mongering, QAnon type of stuff is always like 6 or 7 of the top 10, right? And a lot of that has to do with the algorithms on these websites that reward content that gets engagement rather than content that serves a civic purpose, right? So if it makes you angry and you click the little anger button, Facebook likes that because it knows you're paying attention and you're going to keep paying attention. So it serves you more of that stuff. And that crowds out the more boring but important actual journalism further down in the timeline and makes you less likely to click on it and engage with it. And that diminishes the amount of traffic going back to the original news source, which further harms their bottom lines, right? So big tech does play a role in this, but it's not that big tech is stealing the money, the ad money from all these embedded news articles. From a legal standpoint, there's no reason why Facebook or Google or Twitter should ever have to pay a journalistic website because copyright doesn't work that way. And it's a long explanation why that's the case, but you can trust me because I wrote a book called The Essential Guide to Intellectual Property, which lays a lot of that out, what copyright can and can't do. And so part of the reason why I'm opposed to this bill is it would essentially create new copyright powers that haven't existed before. Basically, the right to control who gets to link to your content or doesn't get to link to your content. And not only would that basically break the internet, because the internet is based on the idea that anybody can link to anyone and anything, but it would also expand copyright powers. And every time copyright powers have been expanded in the past, that benefits one group. and that's large corporations, and hurts everybody else because it raises the stakes to have a seat at the table. So I think the idea that we need to rein in big tech is a good idea. I think the idea that we need to find a way to reinfuse financial stability into local news is a good idea, but I don't think this law is the way to do it.
We're going to take a quick pause, Professor, but what you're dropping right here today is just mind-blowing. And I know that some of our people, some of our viewers, they're probably thinking like how deep does this rabbit hole go, right? Because we're slowly, I think, becoming less and less critical about how we get information, where we get information from, who's presenting that information. We're becoming less and less critical. When we assume that, and I think this is part of the problem. There is this kind of unwritten assumption that if it's on Amazon, it's good. It must means that it's true, right? If it's on Facebook, it's halfway true, right? If it's on Twitter,
there's got to be some value in it.
There's got to be some validity and some value with it, right? So, when we're talking about making sure that essentially that the stories that we read, that there's a local connection. Because I don't know about you, but when I've traveled across this country, it's like some of these cities are starting to look the same. You know what I mean? Like you get into all of the same, the malls look the same, outside of a couple of small businesses here and there, it just feels like the same. The streets are obviously different, but if I'm in Los Angeles, you go to, New York, you go to Chicago, everything is starting to look the same. And I'm wondering, and I always just started just like, where is that local feel? Where is, when I go into cities, I want to know, where do the locals eat at? I don't want to go to the tourist area. I want to go where the locals eat at, right? But we're starting to see that even in the physical space is starting to shrink.
Yep, I agree. And it's a huge problem. And it's related to the problem of the private equity ownership of the local news providers, right? Wow. So a lot of these restaurant chains are being bought up by the same kinds of private equity firms, which do exactly the same thing, right? They figure out a profit model in which they can fire as many people as possible, reuse the same material as much as possible, and replicate their model identically from market to market to market to market in a way that, as you point out, eliminates the local flavor, and in doing so creates a kind of monoculture that hurts everybody. Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and when I go back, I don't live there anymore. I live in Silver Spring, Maryland. When I go back to Brooklyn, I barely recognize it because, as you point out, it's like I literally remember when McDonald's first came to New York. We didn't have McDonald's until the 80s,
Wow.
And now that's where everybody eats. Everybody shops at Walmart. And that's no good for anybody. You need a diversity of different cultures infusing our public sphere in order to have a healthy society and a healthy democracy.
Oh, absolutely. Folks, we're going to take a quick pause. We're going to continue the conversation with Professor Sinwright, bring back Culture Crew member Iman Heath, and I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts about this idea of local journalism possibly being usurped by big tech? We're asking the question, saving local journalism from big tech. Is this something that you think that our government should protect? Stay with us. We'll get to your answers once we come back from the break. You tune into The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shootings.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Folks, welcome back to The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. We've been talking to Professor Iram Sinwright out of American University, Associate Professor and the Chair of Communication Studies there at American. He's also the author of a book talking about the impact of big tech on our lives. And he's been giving us some insight about this latest effort to try to control local journalism as we look at the situation around how the bill, the Journalism Competition and Preservation Act, that is currently being debated upon in Congress, may open the floodgates for big tech to determine what we see in terms of news content, what we see locally, regardless of where we are. And there are so many reasons that we all should be concerned about this, especially given the fact that news and information, that is the currency that we're currently working. That's the currency of today. So I want to bring Professor Iram Sinwright back into the conversation. Also, we want to include Culture Crew member Iman Heath as well to get her take on this. Because Iman, if news is starting to be monopolized and corporatized the way we're starting to see it, now we already know it's there. That's why you have the 24-hour news stations like a Fox and other. But I'm looking down the road. If people are reading or rather not reading. And I'm going to go to what one of our culture crew members talk about. Mingli Natasha Surge said, time to go back to newspapers and actually reading. If people are so engaged on a digital space and not wanting to hear or read rather what's going on locally, that can affect a lot of different things, not just the person's view of the world and themselves. It could affect politics. It could affect policy. I mean, it has like this domino effect. What's your take on this?
I agree. When as Professor was speaking, I was thinking of the Shade Room and how they are the first to drop everything. And the money, I'm sure that those who at least leak whatever the hot topic may be for the week, how much revenue they get from just a year span. And it's no way. I'm thinking, how can local journalists combat that as well? What can be done on their level? And the crazy thing is, as much as people read those long captions on the Shade Room or any other news outlet on social media, they can get the same convenience. Just download the NY Times app or something. Like you can.
Right.
The newspaper isn't just being thrown outside of your grandmother's house anymore. You can download an app and read it that way.
Right. And I mean, I think that's cool, like for convenient purposes, but there's still something that it feels, Professor, there's still something that feels kind of like Big Brotherish. You know what I'm saying? Like when we read the news and it's not related to a particular area, like, for example, young people in particular need to know what's going on in their area. Political leaders, they need to know what's going on in their area, what's going on in the district. So when we get into a space, if news is saying, okay, if big tech is saying, look, we're not going to pay you for the content, and then these publishers are saying, well, in order for us to stay alive, we're going to have to start to cater to their news interests, then there's going to be a compromising, or there might be a whitewashing of information. And in this day and time, we don't need that. Like you go back to your point. You said democracy is built upon different perspectives and ideas. But we're slowly getting away from that in a very blatant way. Like we don't know that principle is actually eroding right in front of our eyes because we're so wrapped up in the technology that we're forgetting the content and the substance of that technology.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth in that. The Facebook timeline or the interface of your phone does make everything seem the same, like something that your uncle posts carries the same weight as something that a team of journalists might have spent a year investigating. And that's no good. I think, the problem is that this particular law, the JCPA that you were talking about, makes matters worse. Think about it this way. So right now, local news relies mostly on advertising. And if it's a newspaper, they'll also rely to a certain extent on subscriptions in order to stay afloat. If this law went into effect, all of a sudden, these local news providers would become totally dependent economically on the money coming from links from Twitter and Facebook to survive. Well, that Twitter has been breaking down for the last week and a half, ever since Elon Musk bought it. And now it's basically a flaming pile of garbage. And if I was a local news provider and I was totally reliant on Twitter to derive my revenues from, the death of that platform, which we're now seeing, and it might be totally gone in 2 weeks for all we know, would be absolutely devastating to me. And in order to prevent that from happening, I, the local news provider, would work harder and harder and harder to create clickbait stories rather than real investigative stories. And pretty soon, every story would just be about what Kim Kardashian's butt looks like in a pair of jorts, instead of what the shady politician is doing on the side, or what the building contractors are trying to do to change the codes, the zoning regulations in your town. The stuff that people actually need to know is not the same as what drives clicks, right? So this particular approach to the problem, making platforms pay local news providers for clicks would ironically make those news providers more dependent on big tech, not less dependent, and would make them pivot even more into clickbait and away from real journalism. So we need a solution. I think instead of trying to share the bounty of like Facebook's monopoly with local news, we need to break up Facebook's monopoly. We need to actually use antitrust to break apart these big tech companies so that they can't command like double-digit percentages of all the advertising money flowing into content on the internet. And then it becomes a more fair game for everybody who actually wants to present information to readers.
But see, Professor Iman, when we're talking about putting some sort of breaking up this monopoly, I mean, some people are going to be highly resistant to that because, you know, we're living in a time where people want information quick. People want information. You want to be able to access information quickly. You know, it will. Some people will believe that it will force us to go back to the 1980s and 90s. You know what I'm saying? Where we have to research and all that instead of just going straight to one source. So what's your response to that, Professor?
Well, first of all, like the 1990s were a lot healthier in terms of like the news ecology than the 2020s are. I mean, like, you know, like I said, like I was employed by a local news organization in the 1990s that no longer exists now. And there are literally thousands of others that have died in those last 30 years. But realistically, antitrust does not have to kill off the golden goose. It can just cut it into smaller, more healthy golden geese. You know, look at what's happening right now. I don't know if you've covered this on your show yet, but since Elon Musk bought and started to destroy Twitter, millions and millions of people have moved over to this federated media platform called Mastodon, which is an open source platform run by thousands of different individuals running their own kind of on-ramp servers that no billionaire could possibly buy, that doesn't need to be ad supported. In fact, it doesn't have advertisers on it. You can join a server that has no ads, and where you can easily block like racists and disinformation providers and prevent their entire servers from connecting to your server. And so the decentralization of control over social media on Mastodon has actually created a much healthier news environment than what we saw on the more consolidated commercialized platform of Twitter only a month earlier. And like, if you get onto Mastodon, if you haven't been there already, like everybody, it's like waking up from a nightmare and rubbing your eyes and being like, oh snap, the world is beautiful again. Like I can see you, we're having like a civil conversation about real news and not just spreading like hot takes about garbage disinformation and hating on each other. It's like what we remember the internet being like 15 years ago before big tech came along and monopolized all of the information platforms. So I think that's where our future needs to be.
That's real big. Janelle checked in. You say corporate monopolies are getting past the antitrust laws. The laws exist, but they are not being enforced. And when they are, the Supreme Court of the United States is overruling the laws. Is that the case that you're seeing, Professor?
It's a battle. So the current head of the Federal Trade Commission, Lena Khan, is a lawyer who's famous for outlining how to use antitrust against big tech. And she is somewhat successful right now at using that threat in order to get big tech to rein itself in. But there's a lot more work that needs to be done. There's another public interest advocate named Gigi Sohn, who is also very much in favor of using antitrust to rein in the power of big tech. And she was appointed to the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, by President Biden like a year and a half ago. And basically, big media companies have blocked her from even being considered, from the nomination, from being considered in the Senate, because they're so afraid that she's going to come in and break up their party and give power back to smaller companies and individual news providers.
Right. Iman, when we're saying and hearing all of this, and I'm listening to the professor, it's like, it almost seems like there needs to be some sort of resistance, a revolution needs to take place just around our information and how our information is distributed, how our information is marketed. Do you feel like that's necessary at this point? Because I'm starting to feel like it is.
I can agree and then I can disagree. I agree with actual information that is facts, not just people's opinions to just get the ball rolling and everyone hops on a rumor or some type of idea brought out of nowhere and rolling with it as actual facts. I've seen that happen too many times. But the flip side is other people's actual opinion. I do think having other ideas out there, and this is besides, factual information, but having other people's opinions, it has made it easier on social media. A lot of people have become think pieces on social media as far as their opinions on relationship and gossip. Now, I do agree with the professor. I don't want to talk about Kim Kardashian's ass every 2 weeks. I really don't care about it at all. But other people's opinions, I do think still need to have that type of outlet, but it does need to be sectioned off into smaller chunks. If you want to hear or learn about this or keep up with this, then you go here to this corner. But if this is what you need, and Instagram has filters, but it's but so many filters you can add on certain information, especially on Twitter. So I'm on the fence about it. I'm on the fence.
So, for example, in other countries, Professor, like in other continents, like Australia, they have a policy similar to the JCPA. They have what they call the News Media Bargaining Code, and then there are some efforts in countries such as Canada, the UK, European Union are looking at ways to kind of hold big tech accountable in how they're using their content. What is capitalism the big thing that's holding America back?
Yes. Next question.
This is my guy. That's why I like bringing him on.
It's that simple.
It's that simple.
I mean,
Professor, I think to your credit, and this is something you've always talked about. We have the problem is that the profit supersedes people's the interest of people, right? Profit over people. So we're more concerned, like these companies are more concerned about making a dollar than it is to educate and cultivate people, right?
100%.
And so I'm wondering, what's the pushback on that? We got a few moments left in this conversation, but what's the pushback on this? I mean, okay, if we're not going to make a big stink about this piece of legislation, where do we start? Because big tech is huge. It's like a Goliath.
Government regulation, right? We've done it before. We can do it again. Break up the big companies. Like I said, like until 1996, one company couldn't own more than 40 radio stations in the country. Like we need to have that kind of media regulation, but applied to the internet and digital channels, right? So we need to make sure that no Mark Zuckerberg, no Elon Musk can call the shots for what tens or hundreds of millions of people get in terms of like their news diet on a daily basis. We need to break up the ownership of these companies, and not just on the provider side, but also on the advertising side and on the infrastructure side. So all of the different pieces that make up the internet are massively consolidated in their ownership right now. And a tiny handful of companies who are totally oriented toward profit and not towards the public interest are using those platforms to deliver most news to most people most of the time. And we can change that by letting the government be a stronger regulator and break up these companies into smaller pieces and put a limit on how big those companies can get, which will force a broader variety of owners and therefore a broader variety of organizations, viewpoints, and boots on the ground doing journalism to participate in the news environment.
There it is right there. Professor Iram Senwright, who is an author, he's an associate professor, and he's the chair of the communication study at American University. Professor, thank you so much for your insight and your analysis on this. We'll certainly reconnect with you.
Looking forward.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we got to take another quick pause, our final pause. When we come forward, let's talk about Meg Thee Stallion. Can she live, y'all? I'm going to talk to Iman because Iman is a hottie. So, and I'm not saying that to be disrespectful. She called herself that. We'll have that conversation. So stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hi, Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Let's bring Iman back into this, our culture crew member, because why you got this big old grin on your face?
Go ahead. Go ahead and introduce our next topic. I'll wait.
So this conversation is about Meg Thee Stallion. As you know, folks, Megan has had a crazy year. From being talked about from some of the industry's hottest hip hop artists and their songs to making waves. I'm sorry, say what?
Go ahead. Go
Drake.
ahead.
Oh, Drake, of course, yes. To branching out, taking her music to the next level. Now, apparently, and she's still recovering in some way, shape, or form from the tragedy of the unfortunate incident of the shooting, where she was shot in the foot and all of the issues with that. But now she's dealing with another controversy, and this is with her own record company. According to Billboard, take a look at this, folks. According to Billboard, the Houston native, whose real name is Megan P., she has been granted a restraining order against her record company 1501 Certified Entertainment and distributor 300 Entertainment. Now, per court documents obtained by the outlet, Megan claims that as she prepared for the 2022 American Music Awards, the two companies unlawfully took steps to block or interfere with Pete exploiting, licensing, or publishing her music. The Savage artist is nominated for Favorite Female Hip Hop Artist at the 2022 American Music Awards, and she sought the restraining order after claiming 1501 used threatening and retaliatory actions to keep her from using her own music at the event. The court documents do not offer details on what alleged actions 1501 made to prevent Megan from using her music at the award show. Per Billboard, this is the latest legal step in an ongoing battle between Meg and 1501. So Meg is in an interesting position. You have proclaimed yourself as being a hottie. You know, when hot girl summer is hot girl winter, it's hot girl fall, it's hot girl spring. But the point is, what is going on with Meg? Why is she seem to be the target of so much controversy at this time?
So with 1501 and her distributing company that she was tied to, she was a local artist in Houston. She was dealing with them, from what I have gathered over the years of being a fan, with her mom. Her mom was a rapper. Her mom was there.
Her mom was a rapper?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Her mother was a rapper. Hard, too. Y'all take a listen.
So what's her mother's rap name?
I do not know by heart what her mother's rap name is.
Okay.
I want to say it's in relation to Tina Snow. That's what Megan called us off as well. But it's in type of relation to Tina Snow. But her mother was a rapper.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Okay.
So this started back when she was local, before she became Megan Thee Stallion. So she's had this issue with them back and forth as far as wanting to release her music. She's been dealing with this since last year. They didn't want to consider one of her albums as an album, so it would satisfy her contract. She has said plenty of times, especially on social media, that they're taking advantage of the contract. She's even tried to renegotiate a contract with them, and they just refuse. She's tried, and refused. Now, the backlash that continues as far as her name being an industry for people to target for some way. I'm going to say for popularity, because these people are irrelevant. I'm going to say possibly a bandwagon type of thing. Oh, we don't believe her, so let's hop on that train and let's boost our album sales, Drake. It's a lot. When you drop her name, especially the baby. Is it? Hold on. You got
the baby.
Okay.
The baby.
Yeah, it's
right.
two baby. The baby
right.
is what I'm talking about. He name drops, and as they slept together. It's
right.
At this point, it's for attention. If you want to get your ratings up or become relevant again, mention Megan. Just mention Megan. You'll be trending on Twitter or Instagram instantly. Mention Megan.
So, all right. So, looking at this relationship she's had with a record company, I had read somewhere that she actually had gone to Jay-Z at one point to see if he could, help her to get out of that deal with 1501. What's the story with that right now?
So they were going to be, it's broken down as far as management. You have your actual record label, your management. Those are two different things. She was teaming up with Jay-Z for them to be her manager, for him to be her manager. So somehow it doesn't have to be tied up. That's the part I don't understand. It's not all the same umbrella. I had no idea, but that's what she has been doing as far as working with Jay-Z and them being her manager. that's as far as we got right now. But this issue with 1501, she has had this issue since last year when her album came out. It's been an issue.
So I mean, the fact that you can't play your own music at an event, an awards event, that's crazy to me right now, Iman. I'm trying to wrap my mind around this. Like, how does this even? I mean, to get to have the relationship get to that point, it's just crazy.
It's all about money, and they were literally there with Megan literally since day one. Before she got on Wale's single, before she got that big break, they were there with her. Now I'll even say I'll be devil's advocate and go to their viewpoint as the record label. You finally get to this point. We've been pushing you and helping you all of this time. You finally get to the point where you are making this type of money and you're this type of artist. We've been on a ride with you all this time until you got to this point. Now it's you. However, at the same time, on the flip side with Megan, it's like, hey, I fulfilled what I needed to fulfill. And now that I have reached this pinnacle point where I am a popular mainstream artist, now you don't want to consider one of my albums an album all of a sudden. And you're saying that you need the monies from my most recent album. You need parts of that too. It's like, come on, I did what I had to do, I did what I was supposed to do. Let me go. So it's messy. It's messy. But it's been going on for a while.
It's super messy. And I'm wondering, when we have conversations about artists fighting to get rights over their music, artists fighting their record company. Someone in the chat mentioned, Taylor Swift going through the same thing. I mean, we can go down the line, regardless of the genre of music, where artists had to feel like they had to go back and forth with their companies, record companies, to get their masters, to get their intellectual property and all of those things. But Megan is the reason I'm bringing this up here in this space is because Megan has sort of become this face and this icon of feminism that for a lot of people, right? Like, people really, when they see Megan Thee Stallion, they see a confident, bold, determined woman who knows her worth, who's serious about her business. They see that, but she's also the face of this kind of like different Black woman. And I might be looking too much into it, but is that the case? Because I don't know if Black women look up to Megan beyond her music accolades. Do Black women look to her as a source or a symbol of strength, as a symbol of a woman who's unafraid and who knows who she is? Do Black women look at her like that?
I would say some can. It's comfortable and okay with how you express your sexuality, and how men are looked at like we're just pieces of meat at times. It's quite a few of her songs. She does poke at the big bear that wants to tell me what I can and can't do with my body. She does speak on how, be empowered, stand on who you are. She has a song that's out now that basically speaks on how even though we face adversity and anxiety and you may feel like you're down, nobody there to support you.
I've heard that song.
So I do think some women do look to her to be this, I guess, guiding piece to maybe feel more confident about themselves, especially tall females. Finally having a representative can make you feel different.
Wait a minute, how tall is she? How tall is she?
Megan is 5'10".
Now, how tall are you? Because people may not know this, but how tall are you?
I'm 5'9" and some change.
Yeah. Iman is tall, yeah.
Yes.
Iman is tall.
I am.
Iman comes in a room. Iman comes in a room.
That is true.
I'm saying that respectfully. I'm telling you, she's gonna bring the energy. She's gonna bring all the personality that she has. Iman is coming in the room, son.
It's big stuff, literally.
So for a sister like you, she really is like a sister that's kind of worthy to be looked at and to, someone that we should respect.
I would say so, yes. And I'm not going to say I agree with everything she does or everything that she says. I'm not as provocative as she is. So I do still think she's considered, the representation of her it's important. Like, I won't say that I ever felt the type of way about being tall, even though it was annoying in high school and stuff like that. But some women really have an issue with being like tall/big. Meg is tall and she's meaty. Like, she's not no skinny tall woman.
No.
She has a body to her. That's why
she got a body to her.
Dog in the first place. Anyway.
Yeah. She's not a basketball tall. She's not basketball.
Not basketball.
She don't have a basketball frame.
Yeah. She healthy. She real healthy. She you can hold on to her. So just for some women, you know, being tall and then being big, it's like she can help women's confidence. I can
Absolutely. So what's do you foresee to being a resolution to this issue with her record company? You think she'll be able to get out of it? You think that this restraining order will help?
I don't think the restraining order is really going to make a difference. I don't think it's going to make a difference.
You know, and I don't know too much about the music industry, but I mean, we hear about a lot of artists who go back and forth with their record company. But I think the big thing for me is, you know, allowing artists to use their music. And I'll never forget, you know, when we talking about old school artists like Ray Charles, or when you talk about artists that are part of that era, even lately, you know, and hip hop artists, you know, like I've heard Jay-Z talking about owning his own masters and getting, you know, dictating the future of your own label. And we're seeing that more and more major mainstream artists are moving into the independent side because of the politics, because of the quote unquote ownership of the situation of masters and music and everything. So, you know, Megan has such a huge and loyal fan base that if she decides to go independent, I think she still will be good.
I think she'll be just fine. I think she will be just fine. They just trying to mooch all her hard work that she put in. They weren't pushing her that much. They weren't pushing out her music that much. But then once she did what she had to do, and get herself where she's at, now it's, hey, where's my money? So, but that, a lot of artists, when they first start, they sign whatever type of contract because they just want to be able to get their music started. So it's a never ending story. But a lot of artists are going independent. I think that's the best way to go.
There it is. That's the latest around Meg. All right, real quick, Iman, are you a Rihanna fan?
It's all right.
Okay, I guess not.
I like her music. I wouldn't say I'm a fan.
All right, well, y'all, if y'all didn't know, Rihanna she got brand new music on the Black Panther soundtrack. She got 2 cuts on the soundtrack. That one, of course, Lift Every Voice, I believe it's called. It's phenomenal. They play it. Is that Lift Up? Is that Lift Up or Lift Us? Let me double check. But the song is beautiful. It plays at the end of the movie. Beautiful, beautiful. But the other thing, of course, if you did not know, if you were living under a rock, Rihanna is a fashion mogul in the area of lingerie with Savage Fenty, her line. And I know a lot of women who love Savage Fenty, who love the lingerie line. And fellas, if you want to get something nice for the ladies, for the lady in your life.
She got plus size too.
She definitely, you know, that might not be a bad gift. You know what I'm saying? That shows that says something. But she actually very quickly, this is what's trending right now. When Rihanna was recently asked about her upcoming Savage X Fenty show, they asked her on the red carpet of another conversation. They said, "Well, who would you want the most to be in your show?" And she responded. Who do you think she responded? Just. She said Beyonce. She said, "I would Beyonce. Beyonce got body. That would just trump everything for me. Beyonce in anybody's panties would set it off, but I would rather them be mine." So if y'all thought, for some of you who may have thought that Rihanna and B were beefing, that may not be the case. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case. We knew Beyonce. Wouldn't that be crazy?
I am tired of this. Beyonce is the end all be all of everything. I'm tired of it. I am tired of that narrative. I was hoping and praying. When I say I was hoping she didn't say Beyonce. But it's okay. All right.
Why are you tired of it? What? She said Beyonce got body.
Yep. Now she does. So I mean, she'll look good. It's Beyonce. She'll perform in it well. It's Beyonce. I just want people to want other people other than.
You said I just want people to want other people.
That's it. Like, can we love and just cherish, other people besides Beyonce, because she can't do any wrong according to her.
No, she can do a lot of wrong. She could do a lot of wrong. I mean, she could, but I think people just have this. I think Beyonce has, and this is partly why. And I wanted this very quickly. This is partly why. When you put out a certain type of persona, when you put out a brand, people start to see less of the human you and start to see the symbolic you.
Beyonce is one hell of a symbol. Beyonce,
she's a symbol. And you know what? And then look, I was listening recently. I was in the car. Y'all heard the song "Mood Forever" that she put out with her, Jay, and a couple of other artists. From the diaspora. I think came off of the Lion King, or that not Lion King soundtrack. May have been the Lion King soundtrack. But she said it herself. She has symbolized herself. She pretty much has said, she said, and I am a whole mood.
And Beyonce is. I will not.
She's a whole mood. She has put herself in a position where she doesn't want you just to see her as just a singer. She wants you to see her as an experience. I know,
she is. I've heard her performance. Nobody can top that. I've heard. I just, it's just
right. Oh, okay. Who we got? You said Black is King. The Lion King, right? Corinna, you said The Lion King, The Gift, right. But y'all remember that song, "Move Forever"? Was like, but she put it wasn't on. No, she put it on a second album. It wasn't like the original. I don't think that was the original soundtrack.
Yeah, it was the two lions that was like swirling like this. I know exactly. I can't remember.
Yeah, and I know who else. Somebody just said that Rihanna didn't have a song. Rihanna got 2 songs on the Black Panther soundtrack.
She performed in the Super Bowl.
Right, she is performing in the Super Bowl. Right, she got to get back. So she got "Lift Me Up," and I'm seeing this other song called "Born Again." She got 2 songs on the Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, "Born Again" and "Lift Me Up." So y'all double check on that. Check on that, crew. But my point is, I could see why Rihanna said that, because one, Beyonce and Savage Fenty, knowing that the common denominator between Rihanna and Beyonce is Jay. So bringing those two, and I think I think a lot of people have often compared those two to
since Umbrella.
Umbrella.
Listen,
some people say, and it's like you got a certain fan base that's all Rihanna, right? Like Rihanna has this very anti-edgy fan base, and then you got Beyonce, who at the time was not quite as edgy. Now she's more edgy. Now she's more diverse. But people have often compared the two, right? People have compared what their earnings have been. People say, "Oh, well, Rihanna got more money than Beyonce because of Savage Fenty." You know what I'm saying? So these women have always been kind of like, and I will say, friendly competition. So when she said that, I was kind of shocked myself. I was like, "Damn, okay." So it must not be as beefy as people want to make it out to be,
it's
right?
not what the culture made it to be. It's not.
Something bigger than it is. Something bigger than it is. And they want to see two powerful black women go at it.
Unnecessarily.
You know what I'm saying? But would you go to a Savage Fenty show if Beyonce is there? If she's walking on the runway?
Just so I don't sound like a hater, I'll say yes. Just so I don't sound like I'm just a hater, I'll say yes.
And you know what? It's so funny because when you now talk about like Rihanna or Beyonce, people really start to tune out. Like this, some of my people online call, they're like, "Man, why are we talking about this, bro? Why we even discussing this?" Like, they're a part of the culture.
Yeah, that's it. You know,
we like, man, it was whatever. They rich, black, and okay. So what? You know what? This is the funny thing about success. Here's the funny thing I've learned about success, and Elon, definitely correct me if I'm wrong. People who don't mind success, they just don't want you to be too successful for too long. You're too successful for too long, now people are start to despise you. They start to straight like, they hate on you. Because you're too good. We want to see some ups and downs, bro. Like we love watching car crashes and people being like rising from the ashes like a phoenix bird, right? We love that storyline. But if you're successful for 5 years, 10 years, you getting money, you still blowing up 20 years later, people gonna be like, oh.
Now I don't know if you trying to put me in the trap or not, but I'm gonna say this. It's not necessarily.
I'm just saying. I just think that's funny. Like we don't. And the only reason I'm saying it is because as much as each one of us want to be successful, there's a limitation on how far people, want to either see you being successful or how much they can take of your success. You know what I'm saying? There's a limitation. We all want to be successful. We talk about it. We share memes about it. We share little videos on social media about success, and you got to breathe it, and you got to. But then once you get to that level and you stay at that level, then people really gonna have a problem with you.
And it's like, hey, don't get more successful than me. Is that
don't get so successful that I can't knock you off of your block.
That crab in the barrel mindset. I agree.
Don't know. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Like, we love the up and down parts of the story. We don't like to have somebody who's always good. They put out the perfect thing. It's always hot. Like, then we start to get mad at them. We like, man, who cares, man? Man, whatever. We love to see the struggle. We just love to see the struggle. We like you to be successful, but we like to see you struggling too.
We just want to see the human part of you. Like, where's the human part? I know you failed somewhere. Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's part of the reason why I think that very quickly, that's part of the reason why it's okay, especially if you have a platform, you have influence, that you should show that part of your story. Because you gain more people on your side versus always coming out with the right thing at the right time, the perfect situation. People will be like, oh my God, this person is, you come walking into the room and, here comes so-and-so again. You ever had you come across somebody in your life, like, co-worker or family member, and you just never seem to hear about their struggle. Every time you see them, and I'm not saying you got to be a hater. I'm not saying it, but it's too perfect. You like, come on, man, damn, you don't get a parking ticket.
Yeah, something got to be wrong.
Like life is.
Gotta watch out for though. Those people who have never done wrong or don't have no wrong done, or life is just so
publicly. No, let's put it the right way. If they don't publicly let you know.
Publicly, but they even just present themselves as though they can't do no wrong. For those.
As my crew will say, you coming in the space acting as if you can do no wrong, you're blockatized.
I'm here for it.
You're getting blocked, man. You're getting blocked, man. We're blockatizing you because you know what? Bro, you don't have what it takes. You're struggling. You're struggling.
You're struggling, Dawkins. I need some more. I need some more hunger. You eating too much.
You struggle ain't struggling, man. You're just not there no more. Anyway, that's the latest for Trend Post and doing the most. Iman, I appreciate you. As always, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. God willing, we'll reconnect. I hope your family is well. How's your family doing?
Doing better. It's getting better.
Good. Well, we'll send some good energy and some prayers to your family. So thank you, Iman. We appreciate you, sis.
See y'all.
Thank you for being so good for the culture. All right, folks. That's going to do it for us. I thank y'all for checking in as always. Man, look, big shout out to y'all yesterday. Really quickly, y'all made history. Man, we had thousands upon thousands of views from yesterday's show, where we had B Fly and my brother Michael and Hotep. I mean, this has been crazy numbers. And so many of you have been checking in, new watchers, new followers. Everybody's been checking in. So, it's a beauty because, as I'm talking about this piece about success, y'all know, man, y'all remember, man, it was just a small group of us just talking and just sharing. Next thing you know, it's just started to get bigger and bigger and more and more. And so, it's personally for me, I love that part of the story, love that part of the journey. So I thank each and every one of you for sticking it out with me since the day one, since day 30. In February, God willing, we'll be coming up on our 1 year anniversary of being here on the platform. And so to see the numbers go the way we're going, to see the trends and just to see us making the type of gains that we're making speaks volumes about this community. It's very, very special. If you don't know this about me, I try to celebrate not just the big stuff. I try to celebrate the small wins, man. And so, every opportunity that I get to connect with people, when y'all email me, y'all tell me how much the show has made an impact on you, how much you take time out of your busy schedules to watch. I really take that to heart. And I think about that. My team thinks about that. And I make sure that everybody keeps reminded that this show is built upon you, the watcher. We can have these conversations, but I don't want to have conversations by myself. I want to have my conversations with you. So every show matters. And so I just wanted to say thank you for your continued support of the culture here on the Black Star Network, because it's this organic growth that makes all the difference in the world. We didn't buy likes. We don't have a whole bunch of bots watching. These are real people. These are folks that know the importance of the culture, that understand the importance and value of the culture. And most importantly, these folks are you. So thank you, for real. Thank you. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me. I want to thank my dynamic team, Joel, Ariel. I want to thank my man, King Keenan. I want to thank our control room for keeping everything rocking and rolling. Stay tuned. Up next, Brother Roland with RMU. Make sure y'all continue to support us at Black Star Network. Go to our website, download the app for free, download the information, share all the content as much as you can, and financially give so we can continue to build this. We do not want this to be in the hands of some corporate entity. We want to keep this in the hands of the people. So your dollars matter. Also, while you're online, follow Black Star Network on IG and on Twitter. And then you can also follow me, The Real Farajii. I'm on IG. I'm on Twitter as Farajii. Would love to reconnect with y'all, continue to build the community. And I'm just enjoying just working with you and, more importantly, providing this space and platform for us to be heard. We're going to have some more dope guests to come on this week. Also, we're going to have another culture crew member, maybe a couple of culture crew members coming on this week, next week. I've reached out to a couple of folks. So I'm very, very excited about the future of the culture here on the Black Star Network. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong, stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. And God willing, we're going to talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of the culture right here on the Black Star Network. Have a great afternoon and evening, folks. Peace.